Hello, everybody, and welcome to Music Industry Insights Worldwide. And today I have the amazing Geoff Langston with us. Hi, Geoff. How are you?
I'm very good indeed, thank you, Saskia.
Good.
Amazing.
Ah,
Yeah,
good. Nice to hear. And thank you so much for coming along today and sharing
no,
your
my
story
pleasure.
with us. Very much appreciated.
Absolutely my pleasure. It's good to share some thoughts that we both have with the rest of the music industry.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much, Geoff. So, do you want to tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and what you do?
Yep. So the from bit, I currently live in London. I've been here for about 14, 15 years.
Yeah,
Prior to that, I roamed the country a little bit,
yeah,
all over the place. But I'm very settled in London. Love the city and the vibe and the people. And for music, it's just the centre of everything. So I'm very fortunate. In terms of what I do, I've been in the music industry full time since about 2016. However, music is in my DNA. I've always, since I was very young, played instruments, sung, been in bands.
wow.
I was brought up in the southwest, so we used to go and entertain the holidaymakers in the resorts, playing music with my
Yes,
my
yeah,
friends,
yeah, I
which is
remember.
great. So yeah, I play a large number of instruments, go to as many gigs as I possibly can do, particularly in small venues. I like grassroots venues and emerging artists. In terms of what I do, up until very recently, I have been an artist manager
Yeah,
and as well as coach and mentor. I am now focusing entirely on coaching and mentoring, largely in the music industry. However, it's not entirely restricted to the music industry. It just so happens that most of my current clients are in the business in the UK and abroad.
oh, very interesting. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And how have you actively had like a music education, or has it just been your passion and love for music that's kind of put you in?
No, it's a passion, and I'm not sure where it came from. My father liked some music. He was into sort of big band music and a bit of classical, but the family are have never been into playing instruments or really involved with music. But for me, it's just my absolute passion. I mean, I have a few passions in life. One is family, so my
Yeah,
wife and my family. The
lovely.
second one is music,
Yeah,
which, as I say, I fill my life with. And then the third one is supporting people to achieve their full potential.
that's beautiful. So tell us a little bit more about your coaching then and what that involves. If an artist came to you and said, look, Geoff, can you help us with coaching? What exactly is coaching and how can it benefit an artist?
Uh, to put it simply, coaching is a non-judgmental two-way conversation between a coach and a coachee.
Yeah,
So somebody may come to me with an issue they've got. Maybe they're stuck, they don't know which way to go, they're finding something challenging, they want to work on a particular topic. So we'll put some time together and we'll have a conversation, which involves me asking a number of very often challenging questions
yeah,
from an impartial point of view. And what that does is encourage the person I'm with to take their thinking to a place which maybe they've not been to before,
yeah, that makes
which can
sense.
sometimes be uncomfortable, but out of discomfort comes transformation.
As I know.
Um, the most, one of the most important parts is that whoever I work with, we do have to have a rapport. We have to be able to respect each other, trust each other,
Yeah,
and know that we're doing it for the right reasons, for the benefit of the coachee. All coaching sessions are 100% confidential, so it creates a safe space for somebody to work through some things which maybe they've got nobody else to talk to.
yeah, yeah,
And a coach is an opportunity to sort of get things out in the open. And when we verbalize things, things start to become more clear,
yes,
and
yeah,
it can be quite transformational. People have changed their views on life in just an hour.
that's amazing.
Um, so it's really really rewarding.
Yeah, and how long does that take? Say if someone came to you, would it be for a set period of time, and is that fixed? or does that review over time? How does that work?
Um, it depends. I would usually, in the first instance, well, the first thing to say is the first session, which may be 30 minutes or so, is free anyway. It's just to get
Mhm.
to know each other and see if we can work with each other.
Yeah.
If I feel that I'm not going to be able to support that person, I'll let them know. And if the person I'm sitting with or talking to feels that they're not going to get what they want from me, then we'll part company, usually on amicable terms.
Mhm.
But that rapport is absolutely the foundation of the future relationship. We'll then agree on the terms. So, how long the first set of sessions may be, which could be usually start off with 5 sessions, set a couple of weeks apart, and then spreading them out a little bit more than that, hour at a time, either face to face or since COVID, I've been doing more virtual than face to face. And then the great thing is that most people will just renew, and go on and sign up for more sessions. And ideally, working together for a year or more is the best way forward, because you really start to get some big changes in people's lives.
Well, it sounds super valuable and very inspirational. So well done. Well done for
Thank
doing.
you.
I think there's not many people that are doing that in the music industry right now. So it's really important.
Um, yeah, it's not as highly recognized in the music industry as in other sectors. So in sport, for instance,
Yeah.
having a coach is just what people do, and
Yeah.
people at the top of their game will always have a coach.
Mm.
And yet, when you look at the music industry, it's it's relatively rare, and yet it's such an amazingly powerful way of realizing your potential by working with somebody such as myself. So there are some really good coaches in the music industry. We believe that there's the opportunity for much more of it.
It's really interesting because if you look at sport and then you look at music, there's so many similarities there as well, isn't there? It's highly
Yeah,
competitive, very
yeah,
fast paced, all of these kind of
yeah.
things, very performative. So yeah, when you think about it, the work you're doing is absolutely
Mm,
valuable. And I would suggest anyone to go along and check Geoff's work out and maybe just reach out to Geoff and see if he can do a free 30 minutes for you for any of
yeah.
these out there that might be struggling or just need someone that's got that industry insight to kind of support them along to the next step. I think that's great. Yeah,
Yeah, thanks for that, Saskia. Yeah, absolutely delighted to have a chat with anybody. And I know you'll put my contact details in the episode notes.
I will do. Yes. So, do you want to tell us about your unique challenges and barriers coming and working into the music industry? So, tell us a little bit more about that, Geoff.
Um, it's an interesting industry. It's tough, it's hard work, it's 24/7, particularly if you're working across time zones. So being able to pack everything in, I can fully understand how many younger emerging artists find it tough. So what I've found is, or I've got confirmation of that. I know it is hard work. People have to manage the highs of getting recognized in some way, and then the lows, because it's very often a disposable industry. If somebody gets signed to a label and they have a bit of success, as soon as that success wanes, then it's so easy for the label to drop them, which is why there's so many people, so many more artists doing DIY. But it's not just artists, it's producers, it's A&R, all sorts of people uh, love the industry. They just need to be able to navigate it and stay mentally and physically fit.
Mm.
And it can be relentless. So I found that myself personally. Fortunately, over many years, I found ways of looking after myself. So I do constantly keep an eye on me mentally and physically.
Mm.
Um, so yeah.
Good, fantastic. I love that. And kind of, what kind of barriers would you say you've had to face or overcome? Have you overcome any barriers lately, or faced any challenges?
Um, well, every day's a challenge.
Yeah, yeah.
I guess in some areas the music industry is quite cliquey. There are a lot of people that know each other, and very often they will stay in, I suppose, fairly close communities rather than being open and sharing.
Yeah.
And for me, that's been a bit of a challenge. I've been to so many seminars where people have sat on a stage and said, if there's one thing we could do with more in the music industry, it's kindness,
Yes, 100%.
which is a great sentiment,
Yeah.
but so often it doesn't happen.
Mm.
So often people are so keen because it's so competitive, people want to look after themselves. And I sort of get that.
Yeah.
However, without collaboration and community, it just makes it so much more difficult. So my ambition, particularly for 2024, is to break down some of those barriers, to bring coaching to the fore, to create some more communities and collaborate with similar minded people.
Fantastic. That sounds amazing. And I'm so sorry you've had to go through some of the stuff that I've also had to go through. I don't think that's
Mm,
acceptable. And you know, when you go into an industry, you're going there to learn, you're eager, you're open, you're looking to learn new skills and build yourself up. So I
mm,
think it's all about collaboration and networking and education. And
yeah,
if you are not willing to share that education with you and those skills with you, then obviously that prevents you from progressing as well, doesn't it? So it's kind of a
yeah,
catch.
yeah. It is, yeah. I mean, there are a lot of amazing people in the music industry who are helpful, open, want to share, and then there are those that aren't. So,
It's the ego, shall we say? And I think
yeah,
it's more at the grassroots level where everyone's trying to make
yeah,
it. And you know, it's
yeah,
that crab in a bucket effect when they see one person trying to get out of the bucket, they're all literally going to
mm,
pull you down and try and drag you back. And it is
yeah,
challenging, you know.
yeah,
And
yeah.
how has that impacted you in your career? Has that impacted you at all?
Well, as I say, I'm quite fortunate in that I've I've learned a lot about me,
Yeah,
who I am,
yeah,
how I can protect myself from being drawn into situations that I'm not comfortable in and being able to exit any of those situations, which is why I'm so passionate about coaching, because I know that through my experiences, I can support people through those challenging times. So, in terms of myself, I'm good. I'm good. I do a lot of the things that or most of the things that I teach, I do for me as well.
yeah,
So I do sleep, I do eat well, I do exercise, I do learn, I do those every day. I meditate every day,
yeah.
and it's just part of who I am to look after myself. Because for all of us, the starting point has got to be look after yourself before you can do anything for anybody else.
Totally true. And I learned that in the mental health first aid as well, because I did the course. And
Yeah,
literally, if you're not good to yourself, you're not good to anyone else. So you've
that's
always
right.
got to give yourself that love and care that you need. And you know, if
Yeah.
you're ever struggling, you can always reach out to someone. And I think this is another point of having a coach. Like, I totally understand having no parents that I can pick up the phone and talk to,
Mm,
you know, going
yeah.
through challenges. I've got my children, but they wouldn't understand, you know, some of the
Mm,
issues, Barry. So I wouldn't want to tell them about it. But having someone with the experience that's already been in the industry, you know,
mm,
that knows how to navigate those situations, that has been through it themselves, I think is the
mm.
best way forward, actually. Because you,
Yeah. And
yeah,
sometimes it's just a sounding board. People just, there's an old TV advert, it's good to talk, and it is very applicable today. There are a lot of people out there that have got nobody to talk to,
mm,
and a conversation makes the world of difference.
it does. It really does. That's why I do the podcast as well, because, you know, I
Mm,
offer opportunity, but I also learn. It's also about learning from everyone else as
mm,
well, sharing that
yeah.
information. And I think this is so beautiful about this podcast because it just helps empower others and support others too.
It is. It's a great insight. I've been listening to some of your podcasts recently, and some, particularly people that you've interviewed who I know, and they're very insightful. I've even learnt more about those people that I already know from your podcast, which is fascinating. Some really good insights. So
Oh,
well done, you.
oh, well, thank you, Geoff. That's a lovely compliment. And what are your thoughts and feelings at the moment around equality, diversity, and inclusion in the music industry?
Um, I think it's an interesting time. It's first of all, I'm married to an Indian lady,
Oh, yeah.
so who has been subject to discrimination throughout her life. And I have a niece and nephew who are half Jamaican, half Indian. I've got nieces and nephews who are half British, half Indian, and they are very vocal about equality and inclusion. And as a middle-aged white man who, in the main, rule the world, unfortunately, I've been on a steep learning curve over a number of years. So I've read extensively books such as Reniero Lodge's book, Why I No Longer Speak to White Men About Racism, Native Immigrant, How Kayla's Natives, Blackish. I've been on workshops because until I guess my wife and I got together 15 years ago, I didn't know what white privilege was.
Right.
I didn't fully understand different genders. I didn't appreciate what
Difference.
discrimination there is out there. There's an organization called Attitude is Everything that supports
That's,
artists who have visible and invisible disabilities.
yeah.
And until you immerse you, or until I can't speak for other people, but until I immersed myself in that, I didn't fully understand
Yeah.
the challenges that so many people are going through because of their gender, their race, their ability or not.
Mm.
Um, and so, what do I think now in the music industry? I think there have been some small moves.
Yeah.
I think the black squares from when George Floyd was murdered had a short-term impact, which I think has dissipated. I think that things have improved a bit, but I also know there's a massive way to go
Yeah.
in all respects. So I think at the time, a lot of the big labels said, yeah, we're doing this, we're doing that, we're doing the other. And a lot of it really hasn't materialized.
Yeah.
I've personally volunteered for two EDI committee member posts with membership organizations in the music industry. They were just going to set them up. So that's um, equality, diversity, and inclusion (EDI), and neither of them have come to each other. Neither have them have come to anything in a year, even though I've gone back to them and said what's happening. And for me, that's an indication of where equality sits in even volunteer membership organizations.
And I'm so glad you said this about you actively going out and learning about some of these issues, because I sat on a panel actually a few weeks ago and I asked a gentleman a question. He was a well-known, I'm not going to mention any names, very well-known in the industry, we will say, very, very well-known. And when I talked about this issue, and he turned around and said to me, Saskia, there are no barriers in the music industry. And the whole room, literally the whole room must have just turned around and looked at me and they were
Mm,
shocked. But what that
mm,
showed me was this guy, he doesn't, maybe this guy doesn't look at anyone else any differently. And that's what he was trying to say. I don't judge anyone else differently. But he lives in this little bubble where he's got his diversity, but that's to him male, female. And that's as far
mm,
as it goes, possibly.
mm.
And I think a lot of it's a lot more intersectional than that. And you
Yeah.
have to do things a lot deeper. And I think what he probably could see was his little world, his little bubble, but he doesn't live in the
Mm,
real world, in the outside world where we're living. He's living in this
mm.
world. So he probably
Yeah.
doesn't see some of the things that we have to go through, you know, which is a shame.
Yeah, I think that is still a widely held place for people that they are in bubbles, and unless you actively put yourself out there to learn and actually experience what's going on, uh, it's really I know I will never know what
Yeah,
it's like to be black or brown. I know I'll never know that, or to have at the moment a disability.
yeah.
All I can do is learn as much as I possibly can do, and then share my learning with people like me, the people that look like me, and hopefully make an impact.
That's it. And I think sometimes, when someone like you says that to your friends, it's that gets your friends to start thinking about it rather than someone like
Mm.
saying it to one of your friends. They might think, well, who does she think she is? You know what I mean? Sometimes it's
Yeah,
the,
yeah,
so I think it breaks down those barriers too. So keep up that work as well, Geoff, because it's
I
great.
will. I will.
What would you like to see improve over the next 2 years in this area? What would you like to see? happen?
Um, More real progress
Yeah,
and acceptance that there is still a lack of diversity and inclusion
yeah,
across the music industry. I think it's improved, you know. As you know, I've been managing a country artist for some time, and now all of a sudden, Beyonce's recording an album.
absolutely.
So she's topped the Billboard country chart. So she's the first Black woman
Yeah,
to top the Billboard 100 country charts, and so that's getting a lot of press. But it's taken somebody like her to
do that.
cause a few ripples, and it shouldn't have to be like that.
No,
It should be it should be equality for everybody in everything that we do, because we're all born equal, and then society changes all that from when we're very young. We
yes,
are we are influenced by so many things and people around us to believe what we're told to believe, and yet we're all born equal. Why don't we stay equal?
exactly. I love that. And do you know what else we never talk about on these topics? It's class. And often,
Mm,
a lot of people, they might even be white, but because of their class, they're still not in an equal position to a lot of other people, and they feel left out as well. And they're like, well, I'm not included in any of these topics. And
mm,
it's really
yeah.
surprising how we never talk or touch class
Mm.
much in the music industry. Do you wonder why that is?
Um, it's historic, Saskia. It's always been there's always been hierarchy,
Yeah,
whether you call it class or hierarchy in organizations.
yeah,
And my wife and I jokingly say, how high has somebody got up the ladder? Are they sitting on a very high shelf? And actually, nobody's anybody better than anybody else, whichever shelf they're sitting on, whether it's a very high shelf or a low shelf.
yeah, yeah,
Everybody's got something to contribute.
yes,
And I would love it that everybody recognized that, and first of all believe in yourself, know that you are a good person and you're doing the right things.
yeah,
So it's going back to believe in yourself, be comfortable in your own skin
yeah.
and look after yourself, and that will pay dividends in the long run.
Well, that's some great advice. Thank you for sharing that. And do you think cultural and age differences have an impact on the progress that we make around this topic of equality, diversity, inclusion?
Say a little bit more about that.
Do you think cultural and age differences? So, for example, do you think certain cultures are more open to change than others? Do you think there's certain age groups that are more open to change than others? Do you think that has an impact on how far we can go and what?
um I think i think age has changed. I think people, certainly in my younger days,
Yeah,
older people had a more fixed mindset about things, and they looked at people that didn't look like them and were discriminative. I think that there's less of that.
yes,
It's still there. I think the younger generation are more accepting of each other in general, and culturally, it's still, largely speaking, a white society. If you look across the world, it's still, largely speaking, the white population that tend to rule things, although little bits that are changing. It's a long way to go.
step by step is what we say, but we are
It
making
is, yeah,
progress.
yeah.
We are. That's what keeps me going. We've made a little bit of progress here, so keep going. And I think,
Absolutely, yeah.
yeah, definitely. Thank you. And does being in the music industry affect your mental health at all and the way you feel about yourself?
Um, for me, it's positive. I mean, just because I love music so much, it's just a universal language. It's a release. I go to a gig and I close my eyes, and it's just like being in heaven sometimes, because
Mm,
I'm surrounded by like-minded people. I'm enjoying the atmosphere. I've got the music coming to me. I have the privilege of working in an industry that I love. Um, and I think most people go into it feeling like that. What very often happens is that the unnecessary pressure gets them down, and it doesn't matter what sort of position you are
Yeah.
in that industry. So you got recently Lewis Capaldi has taken a long time out because of his mental health. And then there's a young 22-year-old country star in America who on stage had a bit of a breakdown at 22 years old in front of his fans and said, I'm just feeling nothing. And he's taking time out of the industry. And
Mm.
Arlo Parks, for instance, took some time out. So I think my I don't necessarily like to give advice, but my thoughts are really do whatever you need to do to look after yourself
Yeah.
on a regular basis
Yeah.
and reach out to other people if you're finding things difficult. And there's lots of really good organizations in the music industry that you can reach out to, like Help Musicians UK, Music Support, BAPAM if you're feeling unwell. There's just a lot of really, really great organizations that will help you, as well as people like myself.
Mm.
And working with somebody like myself is a more proactive approach rather than leaving it until things have got really desperate for you.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's very sensible, actually. Yeah, I think that's great. Have you ever suffered from discrimination and stigma as well, working in the music and entertainment industry, or not so much?
I would say I really haven't, apart from the cliqueiness that I found in some areas. I don't really call it clique or culty bits,
Yeah.
where it's difficult to sort of penetrate an inner circle. But largely speaking, I've been very, very fortunate, and I've been accepted in pretty well every community that I've been party to.
Brilliant. I like to hear that. It's not often I do hear that, but I do like that when I hear it. So thank you. And what would you like, what kind of things would you like to see improve for the future of the music and entertainment industry in the long term? What would there kind of be that we could fix in this industry that really does need addressing at this moment in time?
Well, the first thing I'll go back to is what I mentioned that I've heard on stage so many times: just be kind to each other, be accepting,
Yeah,
be supportive,
yeah,
um, give people as many opportunities as you can do within your power. And everybody has the power to support other people, no matter what age, background,
yeah,
position you have in an organization. You as an individual can be there for other people, which is, I think, a great place to be. So I'd like to see more of that in the music industry, and more of opening doors for people. There's such a lot of talent out there. There's
yeah,
so much talent on every street corner,
really.
and every open mic gig I go to, or every gig
Yeah.
in a pub somewhere, and it'd be just great if that was embraced and people given an opportunity.
Wouldn't it just? And I think that
Yeah.
would make this music industry amazing if we could
Mm.
just do that. So yeah, thank you. That's really, really nice. And if people want to find you, Geoff, reach out to you or find any of the work that you've been doing, where could they do that?
Again, I know you'll put it in the episode notes, but my my socials are GLAM.RED official. So my business is glam.red. That's GLAM dot red RED, as in the color. But on places like Instagram, it's GLAM.RED official. I do a lot on LinkedIn, where you just search for me, Geoff Langston. Um, my email address, if anybody wants to email me, is geoff@glam.red. So GEOFF at glam.red, and I will come back to you as soon as I can do.
Very kind of you. Thank you for sharing this amazing information with us. And have you got any major wins or successes that you would like to share with the audience before we go?
Um, I suppose looking back at what I've been doing since lockdown really is I like you, I have a podcast which I did entirely done during lockdown, which I will go back to. So it's called Releasing Potential, because that's what I love doing, releasing potential, people's potential. Some amazing guests on there, some really kind, considerate people in the music industry. So managers, social and digital media experts, label managers, some really lovely people. So you could have a listen to that. I've got a YouTube channel, so I've posted a few videos on there about how you can really easily change your life and live a fuller life and manage with some of the stresses of it.
And your mindset.
So I'm pleased about that. I'm continuing with that. And then I just love doing what I do, which is giving people opportunities. So the coaching and the mentoring, every day is a win for me. I've already done a couple of coaching sessions this morning. They've been great.
You're a winner. Well done. Thank you so
Indeed.
much. Thank you. It's been ever such a pleasure to have you on the show, to listen to your story and to share this with the rest of the listeners. It's going to be fantastic. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Have a lovely
And
afternoon.
thanks for the invitation, and well done for everything you do. You're doing an amazing job out there, Saskia, and congratulations on everything that you've achieved.
Oh, I really appreciate that. Thank you so, so much. And we'll speak again.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Indeed. Thank you.
Bye.